think so.
Hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. We have got a great episode for you this week. We are going to discuss the KU tree cutting protest that led to an arrested protester, a mayoral intervention, and a temporary victory here in Lexington. Then Kimberly is going to cover the news you need to know in 5 minutes or less. Also, we're going to touch on Representative Thomas Massey's effective bid for attention. And then we're going to go to a wonderful interview with Kentucky State Representative Nima Kulkarni, who represents the 40th District in Louisville. We're going to discuss her legislative proposal to decriminalize personal marijuana use. And then we're going to close our call to action on our events calendar. But first, are you ready to turn Kentucky purple? I know you are. Because you, like us, know that our Commonwealth has some work to do if we're going to beat back the red wave of bad politics and policy from the GOP supermajority in Frankfort, from their efforts to stop teaching history that makes white parents uncomfortable, to ending all abortion access in our Commonwealth. We need help to stand effectively against that group of troublemakers in Frankfort. And if you want a Commonwealth that works for all of us, please join Progress Kentucky. We make it as easy as possible. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, kind of wherever you spend time on social media. Make sure to like and share our comment on our content. And if you like what you're hearing on Kernels of Truth, give us a thumbs up or leave us a review on your podcasting platform, or share out the show right now. You can just give it a like and make sure that your friends know that you're watching Kernels of Truth. So before we get into the show, we want to check in with our co-hosts. We want to say who we are, where we are, and what does your protest sign say today. So, and you, of course, on the internet watching at home, please feel free to share your protest sign. My sign, I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg, a community in Lexington. My sign says, KU, stop cutting bluegrass greenery. And we'll now go to our friend Kimberly.
Hi, Aaron, and I'm coming to you from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm in my office here in the West End area of Louisville, Kentucky. And my protest sign says today, I didn't get a chance to make one, you guys, but if I were to make one, it would say, vacation is over. Let's get busy.
Awesome. And now Nate.
Hey gang, it's Nate Orshan coming live and direct from Kits in my lovely home here in South Frankfort, Kentucky. And you may see some cats in the background too. I'm broadcasting from a different room than normal, so it's a little bit less library-like, a little bit more like a sort of recording studio, which it actually is. So what's my sign? This week it's going to tell people, ignore the trolls, but do feed the elves.
Nice. I've got a good idea about the trolls. I don't know who the elves are. I'm excited to maybe learn that later. But let's go ahead and do this. So we'll get into news of the week. And the first story is one that's been simmering for a while. So earlier this summer, Kentucky Utilities warned Lexington and other cities in their service area that they would be cutting down trees along their distribution line right-of-ways. That caused a bit of a ruckus, if folks recall, back in July. Then the issue kind of quieted down for a while. But last week, things really heated up again. They started cutting down trees, not just anywhere in their service area, but on Lansdowne Drive, which spawned protests, actually an arrest. A woman who was protesting the tree cutting did not disperse when the KU tree cutting crew asked her to, and then the cops were there. There was a ton of cops there. And so they moved forward to arrest her. The city got into it. After that arrest, they threatened a lawsuit. And then the mayor showed up the very next day at that cutting and protest site on Lansdowne. She negotiated with the utility workers for half an hour and then got them to agree to pause for a few days so the two could speak further, the two interests. Kudos really to the protesters for drawing attention to the issue, to the city and to the mayor specifically, Linda Gordon, I think, for, kind of putting her neck on the line for this one. While she did not get arrested, she went down there to make sure no one else did, and that KU did the right thing. The situation, I think, is absolutely ridiculous, right? Obviously, first off, no one wants their power out, right? We all want dependable, reliable power grid, but it's clear that not every tree is a threat to our local grid. So it's really clear to me that KU has been making the most of its power in this situation, ignoring entreaties from the city to not cut down every tree and to negotiate some kind of third way forward, as opposed to leaving them all or cutting them all. I'm sure there's some way that we can find some common ground and some trimming and some cutting where required. But KU has just basically held a very hard line and says people will just get over it. But as we look forward towards climate change and things of this nature, trees are really important. And are a really important natural kind of buffer for some of these climate impacts. Really can store a lot of water, as we're seeing more kind of intense rain events linked again to climate change, and helps keep the city cooler. So it really is, to me, just distressing that this regulated utility is ignoring the very clearly demonstrated will of a lot of folks. But thankfully, that lawsuit got their attention. The mayor got their attention. But I think we need to keep the pressure up. I don't know what folks think, in terms of Progress Kentucky and our role in it. If it's an issue that we should weigh in on, we could absolutely create a, kind of an action alert so people could easily send an email to KU. There's other ways that people could protest. I was thinking about, if you're actually kind of old school and you write a check and mail it in with your bill. If they want trees, if they want greenery, I would say put some in the mail with the bill and with the check. Make them, take a few things off your Christmas tree, and what that does is actually screws up their ability to automatically process your bill. So they have to actually go by hand and pull out the leaves or the needles or whatever you put in there, flowers. Just a kind of a creative way to get their attention and make sure they understand that there's a lot of people that are concerned with their behavior and want them to kind of clean up their act. So I don't know if other folks have been paying attention to this. I know you guys aren't in Lexington, so maybe it hasn't gotten as much coverage where you guys are, but what do you think about what Kentucky Utilities is doing right now? Anyone?
I'll go.
Are there? Do I have some co-hosts tonight?
Yes,
they want to share.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I think it's broken.
I was going to let Nate go first, but anyway, no, you don't have to cut and chop down every tree to get something done. I just think it's a lazy way out. It takes more time, more finessing to get to whatever they need to get to so everyone can keep their power on. But I don't think a massacre is what I would call it of trees and everything else that's natural and God-given that has to be done. So I believe that this will be stopped. I think they're going to have to take a deep breath and reevaluate how they're going to get the job done. Back to you, Aaron.
All right. Thank you. Reevaluate. You think I like your positive attitude that they're going to stop. I'm a little bit skeptical. I think they're going to just do what legally they have to do, which is they've got the ability to cut whatever is in their right of way. I think we need to get some Kentucky Public Service Commission action to actually constrain them. But a lawsuit's always good because it holds kind of gums up the works a little bit. But what about my putting leaves and pine needles in your bill? Who's down to do that with me?
Civil disobedience.
I'll come on down and help you out.
What's that you say, Nate?
No, it just again, I'm struck by how this is yet another of these gazillion issues where you see the benefit of more regulation, not less. I mean, we progressives, right? We're famously sort of like pro-government stepping in and sort of setting benchmarks, setting ceilings for behavior of large economic actors such as public utilities. And I think this is an example where if we had more stringent rules, like you said it yourself, Aaron, like sort of they do everything they can get away with legally. So then it comes down to like what's legal, right? So again, it's just an object lesson in if you tell a large entity like a corporation or a public utility or a large organization like Progress Kentucky, no, not us, we're not large, but if you tell a large organization what it can do, it'll do everything up until that point, right? It'll push the limits. So we've got to have, this is a nice example of where we need government to sort of set more reasonable limits and limits that the people of Lexington would better live with.
Yeah. Here. Appreciate that, Nate. All right. So you have the next story. Story number 2. Take it away.
Take it away, Nate. Well, as much of Kentucky knows by now, District 4 Congressman Thomas Massie succeeded in getting a lot of attention last Saturday, December 4th, when he tweeted a holiday picture of himself with his family, smiling and sitting or standing in front of their Christmas tree, each of them brandishing a very lethal-looking rifle. The caption read, "Merry Christmas! P.S. Santa, please bring ammo." Cue the retweets, the rageful responses, and accompanying hot takes to which I must now regrettably add my own. And I say regrettably because on a fundamental level, people on both sides of this issue, the pro-regulation side versus the anti-restriction side, they both were manipulated by Massie's post. If you believe that every American has a right to as large and massively lethal an arsenal as they want, Massie's post was an affirmation of your beliefs, and it'll be something you always remember fondly, especially when it comes to Massie's appeals for campaign funds or votes. If, on the other hand, you believe that there are too many guns in the Commonwealth and that there are too many yahoos for whom a firearm is a deadly solution in search of a problem, Massie's post was custom made to turn your personal level of outrage up to 10 and beyond. And in both of these scenarios, who wins? Massie wins. He gets attention. He gets to reinforce his reputation as an ultra-conservative extremist, and he gets a ready-made group of public enemies at whom he can point, and he can tell his supporters, those people frothing at the mouth, they're the extremists. They're the ones who want to prevent you from posing in front of your Christmas tree with what appears to be an M60 machine gun. Well, what looks like one at any rate. Hat tip to the Santa Rosa Press Democrat for that little tidbit. And that's not the worst of it. Massie released his photo when, just days after yet the latest shooting in a school which took the lives of 4 high schoolers in Oxford, Michigan. So I do regret that I'm here, adding my voice to the chorus of disapproval that only ends up perversely helping this congressionally useless little troll with a fetish for ludicrously large firearms. So let's end with something else that's blindingly obvious. For a Christian, Christmas is one of the holiest days of the year. Even many Americans who aren't Christians still observe Christmas in one way or another. And the holiday's message of peace on earth and goodwill to men, okay, to all people, likely resonates strongly with them as well. So what in the literal hell is Massie and his family doing with those rifles? Would Jesus really approve of violence? Isn't Massie desecrating, look it up, one of the holiest days for Christians by promoting the use and, frankly, the fetishization of ultra-lethal firearms? So, what can you and I do? Other than keep supporting progressive organizations in the Commonwealth, such as Progress Kentucky, do what I should have done instead of this little story. Don't write about him. Don't retweet him. Don't share anything about him. Just deprive that sad little murder muppet of the oxygen he so desperately wants. And don't get me started about Lauren Boebert. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear you, and I do. I think the term "murder muppet" is very catchy, so well done on that one. Looking at his face in the picture, his just unmitigated glee. He is just so excited to troll folks like us, right? The whole thing is just a sad bid for attention. I think John Yarmouth absolutely nailed it in his response, which says, "I promise not everyone in Kentucky is an insensitive asshole." And yeah, that's right. We aren't all that guy. But Massey was working very hard to kind of improve his MAGA troll bona fides, right? If you've been paying attention on a lot of stories, you'll see, not him ever mentioned, but a story about Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene that, next to them, there's Massey trying to kind of wheedle his way in with the cool kids in MAGA town. And it's like, oh yeah, Lauren Boebert, she jumped right on it yesterday. I think she was probably a little offended that Massey was getting so much attention because that's her space. The outrageous display of guns. That's kind of like been her brand. So she jumped on it. Let folks know that the Boeberts have his six because they're military folks. Have any of them ever served? No, I don't think so.
Can I make a little observation, Aaron?
Please.
Something I noticed about the Massey picture is that if you look at it, none of the rifles have magazines in them, right? They're all very sensibly, without any ammo, so that you can't accidentally shoot your brother, sister, mom, or dad. but if you look at the Boebert picture, those kids appear to have freaking magazines in their rifles. Hopefully empty, but I mean, it's this weird kind of messaging arms race, if you'll forgive that horrible metaphor, that, Matt Massey is just going to sort of pretend to be the real gun nut, but we know better. We actually have live ammo in this here house, and we just lay the guns up against the, paneling and pull them out if we ever see anyone we need to shoot.
I mean, that totally checks out, right? Like, Massey, say what you will about him. He's not stupid, right? He's got like a couple degrees from MIT. So he's a bit smarter. Boebert, meanwhile, does not have a high school. I don't think she graduated from high school. So, it all kind of makes sense, right? Like, oh, who's going to brandish their weapons, are actually ready to go, and who's going to be a little bit safer. But yeah, the whole thing is just, it's pathetic. And your point about, desecrating one of the highest, holidays of Christianity besides Easter, yeah, what are you doing? What kind of Christians are willing to like replace Jesus Christ with a Glock 9mm? It's disgusting. Lyndon Blackford had a great column on Massey's pathetic efforts, which showed up in my paper today, pointing out that Massey really hasn't done much to deliver for his district, but instead, voted against commendating the Capitol Police for their heroism during Trump's failed insurrection on January 6th. I had forgot that he was, one of the lone votes against recognizing the Capitol Police for saving their skins from people, very much like Boebert and Massey. Also, Blackford did a really good job in reminding us that no less an authority on pitiful attention seekers than Donald Trump actually called Massey a third-rate grandstander. So, what I don't like to agree with Trump. I really don't. But in this case, I think he nailed it for sure. Anyway, Kimberly, did you have any thoughts on, this disgusting display?
Yes, I think the timing was off. And it just kind of depends upon sometimes what is your sport, where are you from, that type of thing. I am a responsible gun owner myself of several guns. I do believe in that. I believe in being responsible. I think it was tone deaf. Certainly it was when those just poor students in Michigan being gunned down, and then they put that up. And then Boebert, I mean, what can you say about her? She's Islamophobic. She's everything that I would like to call her, but I won't do that on the air tonight. And I think it's okay. I have received guns at Christmas time, I love to shoot. I like to have some fun that way. But the bigger picture of it is, since this is causing alarm to people that have seen this, we need to be looking at where are our young people getting these guns. Yes, the young man in Michigan, his parents bought the gun, but I'm talking about all of these murders that are going on all around the country, and it's a lot of our young people. And where are they getting these guns? They're not getting them from their parents, and so on and so forth. So I think maybe we can flip this and use this as a teachable moment for people to get awareness on where are the illegal guns coming from, because I think that's a bigger problem than Thomas Massey at this point. I mean, these people are ignorant, okay? They are foolish and ignorant. So, I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. But on the other hand, we need to do what we need to do to get these guns out of the hands of those that don't need to have a gun.
Yeah. And I think responsible gun ownership is one thing, but the fetishization of guns in a Christmas card, it's just, again, it's your point is, I think, well taken. It was insensitive, as John Yarmouth pointed out, just in the wake of another school shooting, to use your kids as props to hold guns. It just seems like, any like family that's fetishizing guns to that degree, it seems very similar to the family that things ended so tragically in Michigan. So at any rate,
is that the word for the week? Fetishization.
Why you gotta make me say it again? I struggled with it the first couple times.
Fetish,
like a fetish.
I know what a fetish is.
Yeah, fetishize.
Fetishization.
Fetishization.
I'm like, is this the word of the week? Somebody needs to put it up, how you spell it, what it means. Okay. You got to understand, I didn't come from Harvard. I came from the University of Louisville, which is an excellent university. Excellent. Yes. But that doesn't mean I'm the best speller, okay?
You don't got to be.
The fetishization.
Oh, nice. She nailed it right there.
Thank you.
Fetishization. Break it up. It's easier to say when you break it up. When you try to say it one word,
Progress Kentucky.
Let's do the hooked on phonics thing one time, just for everybody, because I know it's like the Build Back Better bill. It's like a tongue twister to me. Okay.
Build Back Better.
Feta, like feta cheese, right? Feta.
Feta.
Mm-hmm.
Fetishization.
Fetishization. Fetishization. Okay, see, when you do hooked on phonics, everybody can get it. Thank you.
Yes.
Fetishizam. Okay, don't mix me up. Okay, Nate Dog, don't mix me up. It took a long time for me just to get fetishization.
We just lost our 2 viewers. They're gone.
I think they doubled. I think this is the content people want.
Fetish? Did somebody say fetish?
We're providing a service. That's what we are doing right now.
So the next story is what? What's everybody's fetish?
We're moving on. The next stories we have are your stories, Kimberly. A number of stories, and under, what do you think today? We got under 3 minutes?
I don't know, but I got up to 5. But you put on here news and 2, 3, and then you got that crossed out, and then you got 5 minutes or less. Kimberly. Okay, here we go. Somebody clock me. Let me know. Ready, set, clock me.
Go.
Okay. First of all, Governor Beshear has given a raise to social workers here in Kentucky. He gave social workers a raise and family support staff. They will receive a 10% raise starting on December the 16th. So, ladies and gentlemen, you might be thinking to yourself, you're in the wrong career right now, because I bet your career is not giving you a 10% raise. Right, mine either. Also, local health experts are saying now here in Kentucky that our positivity rate for, the virus is over 9%. So that's letting you know, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not gotten you know what I'm saying? We don't want to get kicked off of Facebook or anything, but that needs to be done. And if you haven't gotten the booster, it's time to get that done, because I just had a family member that was in the hospital with COVID last Tuesday. We did not know if she was going to make it. And because she is now home and doing the recovery thing and doing a lot better. But still, there's an uphill battle with that. So make sure that you are getting Okay, also, let's go down to this one. A Kentucky father in Beaver Dam is charged with selling. No, I didn't say letting somebody borrow. I said selling his juvenile daughter. Can you imagine that? Yeah. He sold his daughter to another man. So the father is going to be charged with human trafficking and commercial sex activity. I don't know what that charge is. Commercial sex activity, I guess it's like prostitution. And Kentucky State Police have been following this ever since November, because the juvenile gave birth in March of 2021. And also this juvenile daughter had been living with the accused man that bought her from the father. Like, hey, this is Kentucky, you guys. This is not like, I don't know, Indonesia, the Philippines. I mean, like, we don't sell our kids. I guess they did not get the memo, but the Kentucky State Police got that memo. And to leave you guys on a very, very warm and cozy note, how about this? KFC says its fire logs will make your home during the holidays smell like 11 herbs and spices. Yes, it came out in 2018 and it sold out within hours. So you still got a chance to get you a fire log, get that thing burning in the house, and it'll smell like the old Colonel's 11 herbs and spices at Walmart for $15.88. And what was my time on that, you guys?
You were just over 3 minutes. So very, very impressive. Tighten it up a little bit. We've been under 3, but yeah, important information.
We got the response.
I will say this. Did I hear a note of you like begrudging the 10% raise to the social workers who are completely underpaid and overworked?
No. Right. I'm saying that, I should have stayed in my little social work. But I'm
glad somebody stays. One of the reasons they have the money to give everyone a raise is because they're so understaffed right now. They've got so many openings, like all the budgeted, money they were going to put into salaries. They're going to put into the same, a fewer number of salaries. We can spend the same amount of money so they can give people a raise. But really, really sad stuff. And again,
but they're so overworked. Like, you guys know, when I was working as a targeted case manager, you have clients that are suicidal. You got all kinds of stuff going on. Kids getting, CPS coming in, taking kids. I mean, you got it's like 24 hours, honey. And I'm sure I was getting paid more than what a state employee gets paid for doing the social work and the CPS work, because I've looked, and I mean, my God, like, they make nothing. You have to really love what you do. So 10%, they deserve much more than that. Much, much more.
All right, I do want to just give you a chance to clean that up before it felt like maybe we're begrudging them a little bit of a bump. I needed to
clean that up. Who's going to buy me a KFC fire log for my fireplace?
Oh, that's exciting. Excited about that.
We'll get right on that, Kimberly.
I like Popeyes. I prefer Popeyes. So I don't know. Is Popeyes coming out with their spicy chicken? No. I don't know if I really want my house to smell like it, though.
Maybe if you're on a diet and you got that, crackling up, you could just, the aroma of it. Can kind of satisfy you.
Or you're trying to be vegetarian,
Yeah.
So
no actual chickens harmed in the making of the fire log.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I think it would just make me hungry. I would just be like, All right. We are going to be speaking soon with Representative Nima Kulkarni. But first, we are going to pitch you one more chance to support Progress Kentucky. Remember, if you like what you hear on Kernels of Truth, please consider supporting our efforts with a financial investment in these efforts to turn Kentucky purple. It's not going to happen without resources. But I will say this, anything you donate to us, whether it's $10, $20, $2,000, it's not going to, we have no overhead, people. We don't have an office. We don't have salaries. No one's getting a 10% raise on your dime, I promise you, because we're not getting paid. But it will go to the work. It'll go to the online organizing. It'll go to expanding our megaphone. It'll allow us to get more people engaged in the process of turning Kentucky purple, because it can't just be us. It's got to be all of us who care getting involved, and that's what we really want to do. So we've got 335 days until we have a chance to fire Rand Paul and celebrate at his retirement party. So if you want to help make that possible, please do make a donation. Our secure ActBlue server, go ahead and make a donation. It all goes to us. So I'm going to hand it over to Kimberly to introduce our guest this evening, and really excited to hear from her.
Thank you, Aaron. I truly, truly love this woman. She has done so much for Kentucky, and our state representative of District 40. She's also an immigration attorney and advocate, and I didn't even know that part about it. I'd like to introduce to you all tonight my good friend that I call sister in this fight for democracy, and especially the fight that she's going to be talking about tonight, Representative Nima Kulkarni.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for that amazing introduction.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Nima, it's always a pleasure seeing you, and I know that you've introduced a bill for the decriminalization of marijuana, cannabis use in Kentucky. And I was so excited you were coming on here. I had heard all about this. I've been reading about it, and we see each other we see each other like all the time, seems like here lately. But I really enjoy that because it needs to be decriminalized. And if that happens, what happens next? Will it be legal in Kentucky, or do I have to keep going to Illinois? No, I didn't say that, but
Well, you're not alone. So I look at decriminalization as a little bit different from the broader conversation about legalization, because you can have legalization, which would include, for instance, taxation, regulatory framework, and that kind of thing. Or it could be legalization specific to cannabis for medicinal use. Decriminalization is something that can be incorporated in either or both of those paths forward in terms of how Kentucky decides to authorize cannabis use for adults. But these specific bills focus on the decriminalization of possession of cannabis. And I think that conversation has always been there, right? This is something that I know when Louisville passed its ordinance, which is not fully decriminalizing possession, but deprioritizing it for quantities up to an ounce, that, it's some step, it's a very small step towards addressing, I think, the disparity and the devastating impact that the war on drugs has had on Black and brown communities and poor communities, not just in Kentucky, but nationwide. And so I think the conversation about decriminalizing it, before we start talking about how people are going to get money, how we're going to start a business, how we're going to get tax revenue for the state, I think once you start down that road, you lose some of the conversation and the importance of decriminalizing it. So you leave behind entire populations who, because of a felony conviction or a conviction for low-level drug possession or drug paraphernalia possession, may never get the opportunity to apply for some of these licenses or however we structure it moving forward. But I think that's why I wanted to make sure that we filed these bills specifically focusing on the decriminalization aspect before we get into the broader discussion and legislative conversation and debate about legalization of cannabis in Kentucky. It was a long answer.
No. It was a very informative answer. There's a difference, right? It wasn't long at all. It was very informative. Now I feel like, no, if we can get it decriminalized, then I think the next step will possibly happen. It has to.
Yeah.
I know Nate has a question for you.
Yeah, Representative Kulkarni. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you are, I think, are about to embark on your 4th session in the General Assembly. Is that right?
Mhm. Yep.
So, okay. By now, those of us who are progressive are sort of painfully aware of what a tough slog it's been for Democrats to get anywhere in the legislature, given the Republican supermajorities in both houses. And so I won't belabor that or ask you to. But what I am curious about is there anything that's like surprised you during your past 3 years of service? Something that you might have expected but didn't turn out to be the case, or that just you wouldn't have expected?
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting that you frame it that way. I came into the legislature. I was sworn in 2019, so we were already in the minority and the super minority in Frankfurt. And honestly, I was surprised at, and this is, gonna maybe shock you a little bit, been surprised by how I've been able to work across the aisle to get certain good policy passed. There are fundamental differences. There are things we will never agree on. But I've been able to get Republican co-sponsors for several of my bills because it's good policy. And ultimately, that's why I chose to run for office. That's why I chose to get into public service in the first place. And it's what I heard from my constituents when I went door to door in 2018 while I was still campaigning, is don't go up there with an agenda, do something, get something done for your community and for our Commonwealth. And so that's been kind of my guiding star is making sure I do everything I can to get good policy passed. So that honestly has been surprising to me, because I also thought, nothing would move forward in terms of Democratic bills. And I'm not saying that these 2 bills will, or any of the other bills that I might have co-sponsors for, will move forward. But there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of good dialogue, in my opinion, which has been pleasantly surprising to me.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Thank you so much. Aaron, how about you? You got something?
Yeah, so this, I think this is a really exciting, really smart move. Really glad to see some, that decriminalization effort, because what we know is that, across the Commonwealth, Black defendants make up about 27% of all possession charges, while making up just 8% of our state's population, and using marijuana at the basically exact same rate as white people. So there's clearly racism involved in marijuana criminalization. So I think decriminalizing it makes a heck of a lot of sense for just kind of from equity perspective. But also, as Kimberly noted, it's legal just across some rivers, right? We don't have to go very far to find states that have been leaders in this and have legalized it. How do you see kind of your efforts? Did you talk to, is it Rachel Roberts, who has bills to actually, go the legalization route and try to help, jumpstart industries and things of that nature? Are you guys in coordination at all, or do you just see what you're doing is so different that you're not even, kind of coordinating with her?
So we're not coordinating. I did have last session in 21. I keep forgetting what year it is, but last session, but still 2021, a full sort of comprehensive legalization bill, of which social equity and expungement provisions were a major part, as was, protecting local businesses, local entrepreneurs, and local farmers. Because the conversations that I've had and what we've seen across the country in states that did not prioritize that when they passed these bills, it's difficult to go back and fix it. So the ones that are left behind just continue to be left behind. And that includes, not protecting, again, where we get our cannabis, who's growing it, how are they selling it, where are they selling it, and who's getting what cut of the commerce and the trade that's going on. But no, we're not coordinating. And these 2 bills actually came out of my desire to focus specifically on that, not just social equity, but really just criminal justice reform piece, And that's something that I think also, again, will have bipartisan support because it's common sense. You don't want to clog up your courts. You don't want to keep incarcerating people for low-level drug offenses, which, it's 10 times more likely for a Black person in Kentucky than it is for a white person. Again, as you mentioned, the rates of use for cannabis are the same. And 90+%, I think, nationwide of cannabis arrests are for small amounts of possession. So they're not these major sort of drug cartel situations. They're just people that have possession of some small amount of cannabis that really shouldn't be incarcerated at all. But there they are in our criminal justice system with charges and convictions on their record. So expungement is another major part of these bills as well, making sure that there's expungements, not just for drug offenses, but paraphernalia, which, surprising to me, is quite a significant number of cases where maybe there weren't even any drugs involved, but you still got that on your record if you had paraphernalia.
That is, that absolutely outrageous. So yeah, there's definitely a history of folks in Kentucky trying to move bills forward. There's been, I think Jason Nemes has had a medical marijuana legalization bill for, as long as he's been in legislature, and that's never moved. So what do you think? What are the prospects? What do you think your bill? You said you've been surprised by the amount of bipartisanship you've experienced because you've had good policy. Well, this sounds very much like good policy. Do you have Republican co-sponsors on it right now, or what's the game plan to get it done?
Yeah, so I don't have a Republican co-sponsor right now. This one might be the bridge too far in terms of what kind of partnerships I can get with the Republicans. But I will say that Rep. Nemes has sponsored, right, the medical marijuana bill, and it passed the House. So I think that's a pretty significant step. It of course has languished in the Senate, but I know that there are conversations taking place there. There are a lot of different compromises that have been made, and I think right now in that bill there's only 4 conditions that would be covered. And so, it's been a lot of sort of back and forth, but I know it's moving incrementally forward. I think there's some hope for at least a discussion on these bills, maybe a hearing in committee, which, for Democrats is a big step. But it would also allow some of that information to get out there in the public, because one of the bills that I'm filing is actually a constitutional amendment, which would put language on the ballot that would allow voters to directly say, yes, I am in support of decriminalizing cannabis for adults 21 and over in our Commonwealth. And so that bill is less about how a particular legislator might feel about cannabis use, and it moves it to, well, this is what my voters want, and I want to hear from my voters. So the vote is either you want to hear from your voters or you don't want to hear from them, and it's a little bit of a different conversation. So we were looking at a couple of different angles really to approach this, I guess, bites of the elephant, or different ways of looking at it. But that's why we focused on those 2 bills and those 2 ways to approach the issue. In terms of moving forward, I know I'm not the first to introduce a decriminalization bill. My former colleague and U.S. Senate candidate Charles Booker had this bill. I know Cluster Howard, who's a former colleague, also had a more comprehensive legalization bill. So we've had these discussions, on an ongoing basis in Kentucky, and I would really like us to not be the last state in this country to have some form of cannabis use that's authorized for adults. And it certainly looks like we're heading in that direction. I mean, we've got, I think, 36 states right now have some provision. And that's, the majority of people live in some place where you either have medical or full adult use. And it would be a shame for us to be literally the last state, because we're at this point in the shrinking minority. I'd like to see us, move one of these bills forward.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's a popular measure. By all indications, these are if you poll on these subjects, it's very popular. People want to see, legal marijuana. So hopefully that'll translate into support from your colleagues, and not only keep our fingers crossed, but we can keep our phones active, and more than happy to weigh in on this type of legislation. I know Kimberly will, certainly. How does it affect Delta 8? Do we know about the Delta 8? Is that something we're familiar with?
Yeah,
Anyone?
yeah. So in the bill, I don't know if you're asking me, or I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Your
because
bill.
Aaron
Okay.
knows that I wanted to really know about the Delta 8. Yes.
Yeah. So that's something that is in the bills. We are working with stakeholders that had some issues with those provisions. So Delta 8 and Delta 9 right now in the pre-filed bills have a cap, a maximum of 1,000 milligrams. And so that is something that people, and I know that there's a lawsuit going on, and there's all kinds of debate about that. So we're working through that, and that will likely change, at some point, either through an amendment, committee amendment, or something along those lines if it gets assigned. But I know that is a major issue, and I certainly don't want to do anything to hurt anybody, certainly not our hemp industry or anybody involved currently in that business.
Awesome.
Is Delta 8 still legal here in Kentucky?
I believe so. I don't know that there's a law against it. I know there was an advisory letter that the Department of Agriculture sent out, but it is being enforced, to my knowledge, it's being enforced by law enforcement. So in effect, it is not legal based on an advisory letter, and I think that's what that lawsuit is about. And so we will, whatever the result of that lawsuit is, that's going to determine the fate of, I guess, Delta 8 in Kentucky.
So yeah, Ryan Quarles is the person who kind of interjected in that issue and has made it an issue, and has really brought some, I think, painful consequences on some of the businesses that have been targeted. Be interesting to see how that lawsuit kind of plays out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So we're all just kind of waiting for that. But the fact that there is a lawsuit, it's moving forward, I think we should have an answer pretty soon.
All right. Any other questions for Representative Kulkarni?
Well, I guess that means, I've got to change my Christmas list now. Let me scratch out Delta 8. And no edibles. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta switch up my Santa Claus list because I've been real good throughout the year.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your engagement, your leadership there. I know that you've championed a number of important issues, and I'm glad to hear that you were surprised by how much bipartisanship there was. For me, sitting back and watching it as an outside observer, it seemed like the lunatics are running the asylum. So I'm glad you're finding folks who are willing to work with you on sensible legislation, and hopefully have a very successful a session coming up. It seems like there are really big issues that are going to be wrestled with. Obviously, redistricting is really important. I don't know if you have any kind of initial thoughts on that or how that process is going. Have you seen any maps? Do you have any insights into what's happening?
I have not, and from my understanding, I think we're going to all see the maps the first week of January. I'm assuming that's going to be the first order of business on the 4th, and we're going to see what happens from there. But that's a priority for everybody, and obviously if we're not going to see the maps before then, that will impact the filing deadline, and it will then impact when elections are held. So it will shift a lot of different dates around that will impact everybody in Kentucky. So I think we should all be watching what exactly is going on, but we will me, and I'm assuming Democrats will simply have to wait until January 4th to see what those lines look like.
It really is, terribly unfortunate that that's how the Republicans in charge of that process have chosen to move forward. And I don't want you to say anything that means you won't be able to talk to your colleagues or whatever, but to me it's like it reeks of just undemocratic engagement and trying to game the system to their best possible advantage, as opposed to doing what's best for the voters, the folks who theoretically put them in office to deal with their
and
issues.
I'm hopeful that, we look at this and we kind of, because whatever it is going to be pretty chaotic, I think. And so I hope we look at this and put something together, which we haven't done yet, really, to make it a fair process. I believe there was a bill that would have established a commission, a bipartisan commission. I don't think it went anywhere, but I think that needs to be a focus, because once we're kind of out of this cycle, hopefully, for next time around, we've got to take that step. Like, that has to be in place if we want to see anything different happen here. Because it's not against the law. It's not in statute that you have to have a bipartisan commission or deadlines or let certain people see maps or anything like that. And I think it's something that's important. I think that the public needs to know, and needs to have input, but certainly it needs to be as fair and transparent as possible. So again, that's just good policy. And I'm hopeful that, we're able to move that bill or a similar bill forward, maybe this session, maybe once all of the sort of fervor has died down.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I think there are a lot of people who won't care because their team's in charge. We know that we are in fact a red state, and you're looking at the super majorities that exist right now in maps that were drawn, I think, by Democrats, right? So things very unlikely to get better, and in terms of representation that might be kind of more equal, I suppose. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who are just happy with the fact that their team got to do it, and the only way we can change that is do a lot of education, make sure people really do know the kind of undemocratic principles that are kind of driving this map creation process. And I think League of Women Voters has done a really good job of trying to create an alternative system and have alternative maps, but they got nothing to compare to because Republicans aren't showing what they're doing. But and
I don't know if it's been transparent ever, really. I don't know if it was transparent when Democrats with a big D did it. So I don't know what the process is, but it shouldn't be this issue of whoever's in charge gets to do whatever they want.
Yeah. Right. And I think we had Jim Wayne on, a former representative from the Louisville area, and he basically admitted that, it wasn't good when the Democrats were in charge and when they did it. But it's definitely not good now that Republicans are in charge and they're doing it. And I think a number of states have moved to those bipartisan commissions because they just figured out that, it's not democracy what's happening right now. But I think in most of those states, the Democrats were in charge to create the bipartisan commission process. So I don't know, what the prospects are for a state like ours to move in that direction. But there's zero prospects if no one's advocating for it. So I think that's
exactly
to do.
Exactly.
Well, thanks again. We really do appreciate you taking the time with us.
I've got one thing I want to.
Awesome. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Please, Nima. Are you going to be at the Christmas party on the 15th? Because I'm going to bring you one of these KFC fire logs for your home if I can find it. I'm going to try so you can smell like the 11 herbs and spices around your home.
The answer is yes. If there's one with my name on it, then yes.
Just come to the party now. Now if there's a KFC log, wasn't sure about it before, but now count her in. Awesome.
Right.
You have a great night. Thank you so much for your time and your leadership back there in Frankfurt, and good luck with the circus.
Thank you. Good to see y'all.
All right.
She's so wonderful.
She is. She's great, and definitely threw me a curveball with her her answer about what she was surprised about in the legislature, the fact that she found bipartisan engagement and some folks to agree with, that's great. It gives me some hope for sure. I think we're going to move now to our action and events calendar. So that a couple things. We got just a couple quick things, and then I'll hand it over to Kimberly for the close. We just discussed this issue of racist marijuana enforcement. We still have our action right now targeting Attorney General Dan Cameron. So please do take action. Go send an email to him right now telling him to stop with his racist enforcement of marijuana laws. The fact that that people of color are incredibly more likely, 10 times more likely to be hit by marijuana charges is something that's just outrageous and needs to stop. We have one more action for you to take advantage of. I think in February, there's going to be an arena academy that's available for progressive activists in the state of Kentucky. So if you want to be trained to be a top-notch campaign staffer or a volunteer or even a candidate, CAVE, the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement, is partnering with Hood to the Holler and other progressive groups to offer scholarships to the Arena Training Academy. So I think it'll be free for you, but it's a wonderful training. Check it out. If you're serious about getting engaged and doing that work to turn Kentucky purple, you want to be as impactful as possible, this is a really great step. So those are the two items we've got for you in our action calendar. So please do take advantage of them. And then I will hand it off to Kimberly for the close.
Thank you, Aaron. Next week, we're going to have a great show. Not sure just yet who the actual guest is going to be, but you know how we bring it to you, ladies and gentlemen. We bring it to you with great guests each and every time, so you don't have to worry about that. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State, organized as a 501c4, and is affiliated with the Indivisible Project and the Commonwealth Alliance Voter Engagement, otherwise known as CAVE. Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. And this is just one of the parts of what we do for civic engagement is this show, The Kernels of Truth. Some graphic content is provided by Couchfire Media, and Couchfire ignites multi-camera, live stream, educational, and just a whole host of things. And more information, if you like to know, you can go to couchfiremedia.com. Now, production this evening was by our girl, Miss Annabelle, a wonderful producer each and every week doing what she does. And it says you're doing a good job. I'm going to say you're doing an excellent job, Annabelle. And we all thank you so much for the efforts that you put towards the broadcast week after week. And also, coming up really soon, yes, the Jones Report. And I told you guys that I would announce it here on Kernels of Truth first. So you'll get first dibs to know when the Jones Report is coming back. And it is coming back. It's just that my co-hosts, they've got this going on and that going on. So we're doing like a little hiatus right now. Also, I would be amiss if I did not say thank you to our brother in democracy, Mr. Nate Orshan, for the song that you hear. I suggest you go to his website because it is amazing. And you can go to NATO Songs. That's right, natosongs.com. And NATO is NATO songs.com, and listen to some of his music. You will be pleasantly surprised. He's very, very talented. And also, if you miss our weekly live stream, I know we've been on vacation for a couple of weeks, but now we're back. You can always rewatch us on Facebook on Progress Kentucky's page, and also Instagram, Twitter, and all the rest of them. Okay. So our audio podcasts are available anywhere that you can basically hear podcasts, such as Apple, Google, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. And as I've said, I know you all have just missed us, but do something nice for someone this week. Yes, today was hump day, as they call it. But do something nice for someone. Things are getting, I don't know. It's getting cold out. It's closer to Christmas. People are getting stressed. So just a smile, a phone call, a text message, an email. Hey, I was just thinking about you means so much. Give to Progress Kentucky. Give to an angel tree. Give food, whatever you possibly can do. It would be appreciated, I'm sure. So until then, same bat channel next week, 7 p.m. Wednesday night. And you'll see all of us. And until then, we'll see you. Have a good week. Bye.